Still online, and I was like, Spectrum, baby. You gotta get Spectrum.
Get award-winning internet for your business. Up to 4 months free when bundled. Visit spectrum.com/business to learn more.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. President Trump says he's ending all trade negotiations with Canada over a TV ad that used words of former President Ronald Reagan to criticize U.S. tariffs. Ontario, which sponsored the ad, has since paused it after talking with Prime Minister Mark Carney. President Trump is accusing Canada of interfering with the U.S. Supreme Court, which is weighing the legality of the tariffs. Canada's Prime Minister says his country is ready to return to the negotiating table.
We stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions.
The U.S. has ordered an aircraft carrier strike group currently stationed in Europe to the Caribbean amid a buildup of U.S. military forces in the region. The Trump administration says the forces there are part of a counter-drug trafficking campaign. The announcement came just hours after the U.S. conducted an overnight strike against an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. Thousands of federal employees missed their first full paycheck of the government shutdown Friday. However, the Trump administration says it will use $130 million in donations to pay military service members. The Senate will once again vote on a funding plan Monday. And that is a look at your Spectrum News in 90.
To The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This program focuses on the future of our country and its people. This week, the big deal is still the government shutdown, which is set to enter its 4th week. On November 1st, funding for federal programs, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP for short, will run out of money unless lawmakers pass a funding bill next week. Another federal program on the brink of running out of money is Head Start, which offers free early childhood education and health services to low-income families. That means millions who rely on this program may have to start rethinking their options. Spectrum News reporter Julia Narvez Mungia has this report from Central Kentucky.
Brian Conover is the executive director of the Central Kentucky Community Action Council, which oversees 9 Head Start centers. It's one of 4 Head Start programs in the Commonwealth that could be forced to close its doors as soon as November 1st.
Take turns, one at a time.
We have a Head Start grant that our funding year ends October 31st. With the federal shutdown, they are not processing any grant applications or releasing any funds for our November 1st date.
That grant is worth $8 million and covers staff paychecks, hot meals for kids, and supports families who need it the most.
Many of our communities in Central Kentucky are child care deserts, and there aren't going to be many great options right now. So there's going to be a lot of tough choices that families are going to have to make if we are unable to maintain our operations.
Head Start serves families living at or below the poverty line, but Conover says their program also reaches kids with developmental delays, mental health struggles, and families experiencing homelessness or foster care.
Kentuckians are feeling the pain and will continue to feel the pain the longer this goes. My message is try to stay hopeful, understand that we've got your back and we're doing the best we can.
They're ready to refer kids to other preschool options, but won't rest until they know the children they work with are taken care of. Reporting in Elizabethtown, I'm Julia Narvez Mungia, Spectrum News.
Joining me now are two top political analysts. Tim Boyum is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Taylor Popolars covers the Trump administration for Spectrum News, and he joins us now from the White House. And Tim, as we just saw, rural and low-income communities are getting hit hard by this shutdown. And we've even seen multiple stories about furloughed federal workers lining up at food pantries for meals, including military veterans. Are Republican members of Congress feeling any pressure to reopen the government?
You know, from everyday folks, I don't think so. There's just so much going on in the world. It's hard for people to get the attention. I think if we continue to see, things that are very visible, we've seen some of it at airports across the country, or if there's people at food pantries, like you mentioned. I live across the street. My neighborhood is from a church that does a food pantry every single Monday morning. And for a long time, there's hardly any cars that showed up. And just this past week, there was a line of about 40 cars at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so that stuff is very visible for people to get attention and to see that. And there's some 83,000 federal workers in the state of North Carolina as they continue to not get paid and those issues creep up. But Republicans, for their part in this state, we have 10 members of Congress that are Republicans. They have pushed over and over and continue that this is a Democratic Party shutdown. And so I don't think they're feeling a lot of public pressure, particularly from these rural areas yet. I think there needs to be some of those issues that keep creeping up that are brought to their attention more and more at this point.
Okay, and Taylor, this week saw legal action in the case of two of President Trump's political adversaries that he publicly instructed the Justice Department to prosecute. Tell us what happened this week with former FBI Director James Comey and the sitting Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James.
So Letitia James appeared in court on Friday morning in Norfolk, Virginia, where she pleaded not guilty to the allegations of mortgage fraud that she is facing. And she held a press conference afterward and was basically pointing the finger and saying these charges were politically motivated and that she's going to fight them tooth and nail. Former FBI Director James Comey also has pleaded guilty in his case here a bit closer to Washington, right outside in Northern Virginia. He did not speak to the press a couple of weeks ago when he was in the courtroom, but basically he and James are pursuing similar legal challenges, not only questioning the political motivations behind these charges that they're facing, but also trying to go after the attorney who's been filing those charges. Her name is Lindsay Halligan. She is serving as the interim district attorney for this section of Virginia, and she is a close ally of President Trump, who served as one of his personal lawyers. She's never been a prosecutor before assuming this role that she's temporarily in. So both Comey and James are trying to argue before the courts that she was illegally put into her position and that the charges that they're facing should not have any merit because of that, on top of the fact that they've both pleaded not guilty. So there's going to be a legal battle playing out, not only for the charges that they're facing, but whether or not these prosecutions should be moving forward as is. The Trump administration insists that these are legitimate, even though the president has very publicly called for the Justice Department to go after people he considers to be his own political rivals, which these two top that list.
Okay, and now, Tim, President Trump and members of his family have been engaging in various activities that put money in their pockets one way or another, or at least indirectly. And then we broke new ground this week where the president announced that he plans to tell the Justice Department to approve a direct $230 million payment to him. What is that all about, and is it even legal?
Yeah, this is interesting, right? I mean, he'd essentially be paying himself $230 million. This goes back to the two cases, the Russian interference case from 2016 and then the classified documents case, basically saying he was wronged in this and that he needs to be compensated at $230 million. Now, the president was asked about that, and he said, look, he'll donate it to charity, or some suggesting that it could go to the White House renovations, which was a whole nother story this week with the East Wing. But there would be taxpayer dollars to be used for this, but it does go back to those two cases back then, and in a very unusual situation, as you mentioned, whether it be even legal, basically paying himself with taxpayer dollars, that $230 million. So we'll see where it goes. The president was sort of, when he was asked about it, said, well, I don't even know about all these numbers quite yet. His lawyers are working on it, so we'll see where it goes from here.
Okay, and Taylor, speaking of that East Wing, the last few weeks when I've talked with you, there's been all this noise, the bulldozers in the background. It seems now that the whole East Wing of the White House has been demolished to make way for this gigantic ballroom. And I don't even want to get into the funding of it. There's been ethics issues raised about it. But the big issue I've been wondering about is, why would the president start a multi-year project like building a gigantic ballroom if he's planning to leave at the end of his term, which is coming up in about 36 months as required by the Constitution.
So this is not the first construction project he has started here at the White House since he returned to the White House in January. This is the biggest project. The East Wing is actually was just off my shoulder, and for a couple of days this week we actually had visuals of a claw machine tearing it down. But the president has made clear that his kind of real estate developer roots, which you know well, being based in New York, are being flexed here at the White House. He paved over the Rose Garden and turned it into a patio that reflects the patio at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. He's installed giant flagpoles on both the North Lawn and the South Lawn. He's kind of goldified the Oval Office and really put a lot of gold there. He's created a presidential walk of fame along the colonnade heading to the Oval Office. So this is not the first project, but this East Wing project is getting the most attention because of its size. If it gets built, it's going to be 90,000 square feet. The White House itself is 55,000 square feet, so it'll dwarf it a lot. And the president insists that this will be done before his term ends and that it's something that future presidents will benefit from, whether they want it or not.
All right. Thanks very much, Taylor. Thank you, Tim. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring you a special report on menopause. Stay with The Big Deal.
Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost, and that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Back with The Big Deal, where we are focusing on menopause, which is defined as the end of a woman's reproductive years. Menopause is marked by symptoms that include hot flashes, brain fog, night sweats, and even problems sleeping. And while it affects half of the population at some point in their life, menopause remains an under-researched topic. Much of what we do know about the transition process comes from a major research project called Study of Women's Health Across the Nation, SWAN for short. That study has followed 3,000 women through their journey for the last 30 years. Spectrum News national health reporter Errol Billups caught up with the SWAN research team, which is building a foundational database on women's midlife health. Here's her report.
If you open an endocrinology textbook and look at what hormone patterns look like across menopause, that is data from SWAN.
SWAN stands for the Study of Women's Health Across the Nation. Carrie Carvinen-Gutierrez is the principal investigator of the University of Michigan's clinical research site, one of 7 throughout the country.
SWAN is by far the largest, longest, most in-depth study of women traversing the midlife and menopausal transition.
For 3 decades, SWAN has followed more than 3,000 women who enrolled when they were between 42 and 52 years old.
I thought, this would be really cool to take part in a study that would find out information that would help women in midlife and older, because they don't seem to pay a lot of attention to women in that time of their life.
A SWAN team member will collect the data. Heather Underwood was in her late 40s when she was recruited. The SWAN cohorts include women from 5 ethnic groups. Its data is wide-ranging.
SWAN has investigated cardiovascular disease, diabetes, bone health and osteoarthritis, physical function, cognitive function, endocrine function.
Each year, participants visit the clinic, completing questionnaires, undergoing a variety of tests, including blood samples, cognitive assessments, physical functioning tests, and bone density scans. Project Director Carrie Richards-McCullough has been with SWAN since day one.
There's so many measures we can look at over the span of almost 30 years.
All this results in a gold mine of data, from freezers full of vials to shelves stuffed with files. All of it is carefully cataloged and has resulted in numerous research papers on women's health in midlife. The relevant findings are shared with participants.
One of the things about research that is very important is that we give value back to the participant.
In Underwood's case, a SWAN bone scan revealed declining density, prompting her to take steps to turn things around.
I started walking and it started heading up. So 7 days a week I walk.
Carvinen-Gutierrez says one of the most important takeaways from the study is that your health in your 40s and 50s sets the stage for your health later in life.
We're really highlighting the importance of the midlife.
National Health reporter Erin Billups joins us now. And a great reporting, Erin. What are some of the takeaways from the data as far as how to have a smoother transition into menopause?
So I was really stunned by how important it is to do those lifestyle changes we've all been told about intentionally in your late 30s, 40s, and 50s. It helps you through the menopausal transition, and that's, eating healthier, more protein, changing the way you exercise, focusing less on getting a sweat, and maybe strength training, walking a lot more. That helps build up your bone density, and also sleep is so important, and less alcohol. It's not a joke how bad alcohol is for you as you age, but these changes really set the stage for having a better quality of life in your 60s, 70s, 80s. If you just make these intentional changes in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, it really makes a difference.
Small changes leading to big results. Now, this was part of a series, and in one of your stories, you took a look at research underway that hopes to actually pause menopause, if I'm saying that right. Tell us a little bit about that. I thought this was a natural process that was essentially irreversible.
It is natural, but the idea was we weren't living past our 50s and 60s like 100, 200 years ago, so maybe that's why menopause was around. Now we are. This researcher, she's the founder of a group called Cellmatics, they're trying to put the brakes on ovarian decline, with the thinking that if we keep the ovaries functioning and strong and healthy, then that means women will have stronger hearts, stronger bones, their metabolism will stay functioning better, longer, and they will have a better quality of life as they age, like sort of what men who are healthy experience.
Is there some new technology or hormonal treatment that would enable that to happen?
Yeah, so she's, it would be similar to taking birth control in her mind. And sort of her argument is if you can save me from dying during childbirth, you can save my ovaries from dying as well, which, good argument, but essentially you would take a pill or a shot or whatever it is to just depress your ovaries from producing as many eggs as we do each month. They mature a lot of eggs to find the best one each month, and it's really, not the best process. So if you could slow that process down and only activate it when you want to have a child, then that will keep your ovaries functioning longer, which helps the full body function better for women.
And then, of course, the challenge is for society to catch up with our own technology, right? So that social attitudes may change the way that future generations even deal with menopause.
Yeah, so, for me, my algorithms are all about perimenopause all day, every day, but everyone else who doesn't have to face it or isn't in that stage of life isn't thinking about it. So there is an effort underway to improve education around perimenopause. People need to understand it is like puberty in reverse. Women are going through puberty again in their 40s and 50s, and it sucks. And doctors, too, are not well educated about it unless that's their lane. And so the last piece of our series takes a close look at what's being done to educate medical providers and also to just get the word out to everyone else about really what it's like to go through this stage of life.
Fantastic. Can't wait to see the whole series. Thanks very much, Erin Billups. You can watch Erin's entire Exploring Your Health series on menopause on the Spectrum News app. We're going to take a short break, and coming up next, we will continue our series highlighting parts of President Trump's agenda that you might not have heard about. That includes a pause on a major infrastructure project in Ohio. Stay with us.
The stories that touch our border affect us all. That's why at Spectrum News Plus, we don't just cover these communities. Our dedicated reporting team also calls them home. That perspective allows us to take an in-depth look, going beyond the politics, to see the impact on people's lives and what it means for you and your community. Balanced border coverage that tells the full story here on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
What are you looking for?
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Thanks for staying with The Big Deal. In January, President Donald Trump banned all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government. The ban is not just being applied to traditional DEI efforts aimed at making the workforce more diverse. It also extends to some programs that were tailored to help communities of color. Spectrum News political reporter Harry Lee takes a look at how this is playing out in one neighborhood in Ohio.
Akron's Howard Street once formed the center of a thriving black neighborhood dubbed Little Harlem.
People were comfortable. I remember Worcester Avenue being a thriving place. You'd go grocery shopping, go to the record store, and my grandfather had a barber shop on Rhodes Avenue.
Albert Bragg Jr. shined shoes at that barber shop. But in the 1960s, the federal government spent heavily on so-called urban renewal projects designed to revitalize cities by demolishing blighted neighborhoods. In Akron, homes and businesses were to be replaced by the Inner Belt, an interstate highway that would run straight through Bragg's grandfather's barber shop.
His customer base was wiped out because they lived in the homes that were right on the Inner Belt.
Of the 700 houses that were destroyed by 1970, 80% were owned by African Americans. Each family received no more than $5,000 to relocate. Adjusted for inflation, about $51,000 today.
The opportunity for black generational wealth disappeared within that decade then, and created circumstances in Akron that eventually would lead to civil disturbances, that would lead to a legacy of black families not being able to grow their family's wealth.
But nearly 2 decades after construction began, the project had no end in sight and was eventually abandoned, leaving behind a literal highway to nowhere. The unfinished Inner Belt became a physical and generational scar for the city. But 5 years ago, Akron officials launched a project to finally heal the wound. After dozens of community meetings to hear what residents wanted, a master plan was drafted to replace the 1-mile stretch of abandoned highway with housing, businesses, and public spaces. A major goal, reuniting the two halves of the neighborhood that had been split by the Inner Belt plan. In January, the Biden administration awarded Akron $10 million to begin the redevelopment, money the city pledged to match.
And so that would have allowed us to do some initial changes to the roadway network.
The money came from the Reconnecting Communities pilot program, a Biden-era effort to right the wrongs created by transportation projects like the Inner Belt that more often than not harmed predominantly black communities. It was funded under the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law. But shortly after President Donald Trump took office, he signed an order ending all so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
My administration has taken action to abolish all discriminatory diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense, and these are policies that were absolute nonsense.
That included freezing funds for all 83 projects in the Reconnecting Communities program, pending reviews of each program. Now construction is on hold.
And so with that, we've had to temper expectations.
Asked for comment, the Department of Transportation maintained that no grants were frozen, but added the department is expediting the release of long overdue infrastructure funds while eliminating unnecessary DEI, environmental, and social justice requirements that Congress never authorized. The grant is actively under review to ensure alignment with those priorities. The local Congresswoman, Democrat Amelia Sykes, introduced an amendment to the president's big domestic policy bill to release the funding, but Republicans opposed it.
That means that laborers and iron workers and painters and a lot of good union jobs are not going to move forward because these grants were inhibited.
City leaders say they hope the project can still move forward.
Now is some uncertainty, but in the face of that, guess what? We are still planning. We are still ideating. We are still offering hope to our residents and our community and focusing on what could be.
In Akron, Ohio, Harry Lee, Spectrum News.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill, and with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it's saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and